Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our special show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Now today we're going to talk about the cryptocurrencies or the virtual currencies and look at it from Indian perspective as well. According to the Global Financial Stability Report published this month by the International Monetary Fund, the popularity of cryptoassets is growing. The market value of cryptoassets surpassed $2.5 trillion in early May before falling 40% and then recovering to $2.1 trillion by September 21. This report also brings to light the risks associated with the spread of cryptoassets. These include fiscal risk to the government and systemic risk to the financial system, suggesting that an increased usage can reduce the ability of central banks to implement monetary policy effectively. India is not a stranger to cryptocurrencies. Now, 2021 Global Crypto Adoption Index released by Chainalysis has placed India second out of 154 nations. However, cryptocurrencies are not accepted as legal tender in India. In fact, in the budget speech for 2018-19, the government had said that it does not consider cryptocurrencies legal tender or coin and will take all measures to eliminate the use of these cryptoassets in financing illegitimate activities or as part of the payment systems. The government has also said it will explore use of blockchain technology proactively for ushering in digital economy. Now, as legislation on this issue is also being worked out by the government. RBI, the central bank, on its part, has also cautioned users, holders and traders in virtual currencies regarding various risks associated with dealing with such virtual currencies through its public notices over the past few years. Now, the central bank has also said that it is working on a phased strategy for the launch of its own digital currency by this year end. We will discuss and analyze all aspects of the cryptocurrencies in this particular episode. And for more on this, we're joined by three distinguished experts. Let me first introduce them to you. Beginning with, we have with us Dr. Rajan Sudesh Ratna. He is an economist and also the deputy head of United Nations SCAP here in India. We're also joined by Ms. Aruna Sharma. She is a member of Digitization Committee at RBI. And Subimal Bhattacharjee is also joining us, digital technology expert. Welcome all of you to Sansad TV. Let me begin with you first, Dr. Rajan, and let's first start by understanding the scope of the issue which we are debating here, cryptocurrencies or virtual currencies. Now, the figures clearly point out that the numbers are growing exponentially, both globally and in India as well.
Yes, and that's a fact. As you rightly said about this report in the introduction, it recognizes, and if you will see, there has been a growth tremendously in the cryptocurrency all over the world. And also, it is a fact, if you see today, for anybody who is using it, the return of investment in cryptocurrencies is one of the highest, even more higher than any of the shares or mutual fund or wherever you can put it in. And the second issue is also relating to the volume at which it is operating. And as per estimates in coming years, this is going to grow phenomenally.
Okay, but there are a lot of risks associated as well, and these reports themselves, the IMF's report does indicate to those risks, point out to those risks as well.
I mean, yes, there are risks involved. The first and the foremost is, and as it has been said, and I'm very happy that from RBI it is there. As you said, this is not a legal tender. If I understand correctly, the first country which recognized Bitcoin as a legal tender is El Salvador this year, June. And other countries have not, and so India has also not, because there is no regulation on these. The second thing is the operators. When you look about it, it follows a blockchain technology. And it's very secured if you look in terms of the IT tools and other things, because when you have any currency or any internet-based any mechanism, hackers can go. Here it follows a blockchain technology which makes it very impossible or nearly impossible to hack it, the system.
Okay.
The second issue is also that if there is an error or something which is happening or somebody is tinkering into the blockchain, only that node, or in the technical term, gets affected by it, and the whole system of the chain checks its credentials. So the chances of pilferage is very, very less. So it's that way more secured. The problem is when you have assets, when you have shares, when you put into the monetary value of a money, you can peg it with something and you know how much return you will get. Cryptocurrencies have that problem. They are theoretical. You do not know how the value is determined because it is purely theoretically driven by demand and market forces.
Very speculative.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. But the blockchain technology is a very important part out there when we're talking about virtual currencies. Let me bring in Mr. Bhattacharjee here. Mr. Bhattacharjee, from the perspective of the use of this technology, that is blockchain technology, obviously there is a plus point, but then there are various risks associated as well with virtual currencies or cryptocurrencies as they are called.
Yeah, Mr. Vishal, I think partly the fellow panelist, distinguished panelist, has already mentioned about the blockchain and almost the near impossibility of hacking into it. And even if there is a break in the chain, it doesn't impact the whole network. So now Bitcoin and any cryptography basically is performing primarily on blockchain technology. And so technically and systematically, a lot of risks are already taken care of. But what happens today, if you look at the larger perspective, which is what I would think you'd want me to look at, is that today as more and more people are getting into the digital payments bandwagon, and again, a large section looking at making these payments via, not the currency, but through this digital assets. And as you have yourself mentioned at the beginning, India is now at the second position. Some even say that India is now at the topmost position. Almost 40% transactions are now coming out of India. But whatever be it, there is a scenario where we have to look at how do we protect our citizens, how do we protect our users' interests, because many of them might not be conversant, or many of them still do not understand a lot of the things associated with payments. People go with the flow. People think that, this is something where the growth of the Bitcoin in the last few years has titillated a lot of people to migrate to getting into the cryptocurrency. And then some of the exchanges which are now fairly getting prominent here, like WazirX or Zeppay and everyone, they are also trying to garner a lot of people into this. So the larger policy perspective of securing or making alert or making the awareness campaign well for individuals is very, very important, because a larger cyber hygiene practice that we would like to be sort of put across to our users, that's, I think, more important than really transactions in between being hacked and money siphoned off and all. I think that's the larger thing from a policy perspective we have to look at, because we have understood that we have to get into the bandwagon. Initially, the mindset would have been that ban cryptography altogether. Now, cryptocurrency altogether. But now we say that we will look it as a digital asset, but we might not look it as a currency as such, or a legal tender. So that approach is a good approach, and with regulations in place, and along with that, those awareness campaigns and everything, I think we would be in a position to make its use and profligacy in a far much better manner that you would want in a digitally thriving nation.
Okay, so regulation part is really important there, and then I'd like to bring in Ms. Aruna Sharma here. Ms. Sharma, the penetration, the digital penetration is increasing with each passing day, and specifically India has done a marvelous job at that in terms of digital payments through the UPI platform as well. Now, when we come to cryptocurrencies and when we look at the data, the popularity or the usage of cryptocurrencies in India vis-a-vis the other developed nations is pretty much high. Almost five times more than what the people in the United States of America use or are involved with these virtual currencies. That's one aspect. Second aspect is the blockchain technology. Obviously, it is safer, but the most important of it is the speculative nature of these virtual currencies. So the question here is, what is being done in terms of putting regulations in place? Because RBI on its part has issued several public notices warning the users, vendors as well.
Very right, Vishal. At the outset, I will like to clarify the difference between digital currency and cryptocurrency. Digital currency and what RBI or the government is thinking about is centrally backed digital currency. And that is something which is backed by the RBI, that is the central bank of any country.
Okay.
And then it is completely regulated. The difference between the two is that if the digital payment, my digital currency, which is tokenized is 100 rupees, it will remain 100 rupees. It will not become 101, neither it will become 99. Now, the difference with the cryptocurrency is it is not backed by the central government of the country except for El Salvador, and to that I will add Cuba, which is also thinking of treating the cryptocurrency itself as a digital currency or as a legal tender. Otherwise, no country in the world has gone in for it. Now, yes, cryptocurrency, because of very, very big penetration of digital payment, and if you look at the spread of cryptocurrency, you will be amazed to know it is the women, it is the students, it is tier 2, tier 3 cities, which is going in a very big way of investing in the cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Now, cryptocurrency, the thinking of the government is to treat it as an asset. So you enter into it with the knowledge that you are entering into a speculative market as you enter into the securities market. So if you enter into the speculative market, then yes, as cryptocurrency behaves, your value may go up, your value may go down. Because it is very easy to board on it. Now, if I want to enter a speculative market or the securities market in that, then I have to have an intermediary. I have to have a demat account. Now, cryptocurrency is very convenient. If I have a mobile phone and an account in a bank, I can interact into this and easily enter into it. So RBI initially put the ban. Its Supreme Court struck down. Madras High Court struck it down, saying it touching into the constitution that your action is disproportionate to the fear factor which you think cryptocurrency can bring. So ban is now completely out. Definitely treating it as a legal currency is also, legal tender is also completely out. So what is left is how we go about regulating it so that we teach the people. Now, there are some issues and some advantages of cryptocurrency. It is a blockchain technology, like all of you have said so. And it is like TCP/IP of the internet economy, if you look at it from a technology point of view. But it has a very high trading fees of nearly 37%. And it is not backed by liquidity to an extent of 36%. Now, here the counter argument is even a legal tender is not backed by the liquidity. If 1/3 of the population decides to withdraw 1/3 of their amount, then there is no liquidity available. So this point is always getting counter-argued. Then technology point of view, crypto pairs, there is a lack of crypto pairs. So the 22%. So therefore, it makes crypto very, very volatile.
Okay.
And that is a point of worry which every government, including India, is having.
Okay.
Then another problem is the wallet itself is not FDIC. That is, it does not have any federal deposit insurance backing, which to an account in India with the latest amendment done by the government is only to the extent of 5 lakhs of rupees. So even cryptocurrency is not backed to the extent of 5 lakhs also, because therefore it is important that we treat it only as a speculative market, and we know. And the most important worry is the crypto crime and money laundering, because the worry is whether the cryptocurrency exchanges indulge into KYC and also the AML, anti-money laundering perspective. The new claims made by these WazirX or Coin and others exchanges, they are all claiming that they are now indulging into KYC as well as the AML. You must have seen recently a lot of advertisement coming to educate people about cryptocurrency through these exchanges,
Okay.
not by the government.
Okay.
And therefore, it is very, very important that we understand that crypto does have security risk. It has a market risk. There is no mechanism of inheritance.
Okay.
Like in my
Okay.
bank
Those
account
are
or
those are
FD
really, really
or
important
mutual
points,
fund.
Ms. Sharma, you're pointing out in terms of the challenges vis-a-vis the cryptocurrencies. Now that comes, that brings us to this important aspect. And as we were earlier speaking about, Dr. Rajan, and both Ms. Sharma and Mr. Bhattacharjee also referred to it in terms of regulating the cryptocurrency market. What, according to you, should be done, and this will have to be done, nationally, and this practice will have to be adopted globally as well, because these are virtual currencies.
Absolutely true, and I entirely agree with it. Regulation is one of the important things, but before we regulate, we need to understand. When any consumer is using a cryptocurrency, the identity of that person who is using is not known, unless, like what she's saying, in KYC. Well, KYC exists only in India, not other countries. The second issue is, if this is only used as a digital currency, perhaps I have no issues. But the vulnerability comes from where it is being used as a investment purpose, short term, long term. And then you are taking a very high risk. What happens if it crashes? Because it is purely on a market, driven forces.
Indeed.
So what happened in 1998, fall of Goldman Sachs? The government came out with a bailout plan. Here, without knowing who are the users, without knowing who is the one who is providing this blockchain facility, which government will bring that kind of security to its consumers? If it fails, who is responsible? What kind of bailout package you will bring?
Okay.
And the second, which very importantly she pointed out, is it's not only anti-laundering. It can go into terrorism. It can go into drug trafficking.
Something which the government has already flagged.
And planned, but this is what where at international level this needs to be happened. So, I mean, if India comes out with only a regulation and the rest of the world doesn't come out, so I can go to Nepal and operate it. What will you do? I can go to Bangladesh and operate it. And therefore, there needs to be not only a national discipline, but also international discipline. And there are 4 stakeholders I see. One, those people who are holding this blockchain technology or these cryptocurrencies. What kind of responsibilities, what kind of obligations should we put it in at a national level, at an international level? On them. Second, consumers. Consumers are speculating. It is, I think, my gut feeling, I may be wrong, there are experts who can say, but I think a major chunk of the amount of money which is being spent into these are for speculation business without having a fixed asset into it. And if it crashes or somebody pulls out of the chain, how it is going to act, we do not know.
Okay.
So what kind of regulation you require to protect consumers' interest?
Okay.
And the third, at a national level, good governance. I mean, we have so many regulations all over India, anti-smuggling, anti-narcotics, everything. But is it really working? 100%. And the last is the international community coming out with a global kind of a discipline or a framework. That is what I see requires.
Okay. That is, is a wonderful sum up of the challenges which we face and the stakeholders which are there. Mr. Bhattacharjee, looking at those aspects, and I'm sure you would agree that those are the 4 stakeholders. But when we're talking about regulatory mechanism, what, according to you, should be the mechanism and what should be the key priorities?
I think the first priority always, even here, in the backdrop that we know that, we do not know who is actually a user, is still a consumer. The user, the Indian citizens who are using this blockchain network, they need to be protected.
Okay.
And financial systems instability because of a major fraud or a fall on all of this speculative aspect, they do not trigger other kind of fears that create some kind of an economic catastrophe. Hence, when you are looking at it from the regulatory perspective, you have to look at all these points that Mr. Rajan specifically made. That how do you look at the national level? What the mechanisms that you have in place, so that or you have a ways and means to know who are these blockchain operators, who are their registered users, whether KYC and on the AML mechanisms are followed, and of course everything is say digitally certified or enabled, but still at the end of the day, is this or all these platforms being used by many of the drug networks, the terrorists? These are the Financial Action Task Force efforts all through, globally has been to address some of these issues. Now, are we at a collective level in terms of understanding today about how we will regulate the whole space? The OECD's efforts around, looking at the whole taxation regime. Beyond that, are we, or in that, are we factoring this whole aspects about how,
So a lot of aspects are involved there, both of domestic perspective as well as global perspective there. Ms. Sharma, RBI will have a very important role to play when we're talking about regulation of cryptocurrencies or virtual currencies. Now, the policy might be debated right now, in the works. There is a legislation also in the works when we are looking at what the government is trying to do. But according to your assessment, what's the roadmap ahead when we are trying to look at cryptocurrencies? Because it's a reality, they are here, and a majority of people are invested into them. It's now the job of the government and the RBI to ensure that a robust regulatory mechanism is in place.
Absolutely, Vishal, absolutely. The most and foremost important, because the draft regulation is also with a tinted lens of thinking that crypto is something, an animal not to be touched. Whereas, so it will require a complete relook. And first thing is to define what do we mean by cryptocurrency. So one, like I said before, to distinguish from digital currency, and two, to declare it as an asset. So that definition has to be absolutely clear as to what do we mean by a cryptocurrency. And if we are able to distinguish and define cryptocurrency, after talking to the stakeholders, much of the things will fall in line. The moment we do it, like has been said by each one of us, that KYC of the investors, whom the anonymity is very, very important, along with the AML things which will be coming. The moment you treat it as an asset, automatically the SEBI will step in, the SEBI regulations will step in, and the person who is putting the money knows that it is speculative. Even today, they know it is speculative. And the kind of support that can go with it to protect their money being put will be equal to any speculative thing which is put as an asset. So they can't expect that they will be like your bank deposits. The most worrisome thing which is that now cryptocurrency is graduating to the functions of banking, of lending, peer-to-peer lending also. So it is like the people put money in the market, at 3% per month kind of a thing. So these kind of things are also happening. So the regulation has to peep into it as to what extent this is allowed and how it is regulated. Or how do we go about, or we don't allow that at all. So this factor has to come up, because that is where now it is graduating to become for lending purpose. Or it is not just sort of a trading purpose. Some baby steps have been taken. Initially, you had Corporate Affairs Ministry, which has announced an amendment to their Schedule 3 of the Companies Act to treat it for taxation, which has been mentioned before. That so that the moment you treat it as an asset, the gain from it will be subject to taxation. By meaning that is, the gains will get accounted for. It will just not remain something very virtual, and where it is going, the KYC will identify the person, those who are all trading into the blockchain. Blockchain is a wonderful technology because you can track all the transactions. But question again comes is that you have to then have a regulation where you register these exchanges, you go about it, and remove the confusion also. Recently, income tax issued notices to the exchanges telling them that the income tax is liable to the entire transaction amount. Now, that is a wrong thing. It is not an income. So that cleaning will also have to be done.
That indeed is a very, very important aspect, of this overall regulatory framework which you're talking about. Taxation is also very important, and that brings in, or rather, includes that aspect which Dr. Rajan was referring to in terms of knowing as to who is using it, what's the identity, because unless we know that, all these aspects of money laundering or the security risk, that will not be able to be addressed. Thank you so much, Ms. Sharma, Mr. Bhattacharya, as well as Dr. Rajan, for sharing your views and insight with our viewers there. As our experts pointed out, these are various aspects of cryptocurrencies or virtual currencies. A lot of complexities involved. Obviously, there is a positive aspect in terms of the use of blockchain technology, but then there are risks involved because it is speculative in nature, and the regulatory framework will have to be robust and will have to be put in place soon so that these can be regulated effectively, and the interests of consumers specifically and the interests of the country as a whole in terms of security is also protected. We'll come back again next week with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.